This is the Hello Africa Morning Show, and you're welcome. We're coming to you live from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities here in Accra, Ghana. My name is Jemima Daladem Doche. Now to our top African news. UNICEF and the University Agency of the Francophonie have signed a landmark agreement to introduce the teaching of children's rights at the master's level in universities across Central Africa and the Great Lakes region. The Memorandum of Understanding was recently signed in Yaoundé, Cameroon, bringing together 11 partner universities to harmonize advanced training in children's rights, grounded in scientific rigor and behavioral data. The initiative aims to produce a new generation of experts equipped to analyze socio-cultural barriers, influence government policy, and drive concrete actions to protect vulnerable children across Francophone Africa.
The new master's degree will combine children's rights training with social and behavioral change. This discipline, experts say, is critical to addressing some of the most persistent challenges facing children on the continent. UNICEF Cameroon representative Nadine Perrault, speaking at the signing ceremony, stressed that behind every challenge, whether in health, education, protection, or disaster relief, there are always behavior changes at play. She pointed to deep-rooted community distrust of childhood vaccination and a striking example of why trained experts are urgently needed to identify social-cultural barriers and find lasting solutions. Perrault described the partnership as a significant shift toward turning children's rights into concrete action, one that could ultimately save millions of lives across Africa. The program will follow a hybrid learning model, combining face-to-face instruction with digital models through the agency's global platforms, ensuring that students and young professionals in even the most remote areas can access the training. While the University Agency of the Francophone will lead the pedagogical design and strengthen teaching capacity, UNICEF will provide technical expertise, internship opportunities, and mentorship to keep the degree firmly rooted in real-world application. The rector of the University of Yaoundé, Professor Remy Magloire-Etoile, said the collaboration bridges the gap between academia and the urgent needs of vulnerable communities that will help draw greater government attention to the realities of Cameroonian society. Encouragingly, the groundwork is already in place. 8 child rights centers have been established in state universities, and the first cohort of 50 graduates from the University of Yaoundé have already received their diplomas, becoming Cameroon's first certified social and behavioral change experts.
Also, South Africa's Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Sule Malachi, has withdrawn the country's draft national artificial intelligence policy after it emerged the document contained fictitious sources in its reference list. The minister acknowledged that AI-generated citations were included without verification, a revelation that has since sparked a broader national conversation about the dangers of deploying national artificial intelligence without adequate human oversight. Critics say the incident is not isolated and point to a widespread failure to develop the critical skills needed to work responsibly with AI tools.
The withdrawal of South Africa's draft AI policy has been described as deeply ironic, a national document designed to govern artificial intelligence undermined by the very technology it sought to regulate. But commentators say the embarrassment points to something far bigger. This is not the first time AI-generated content has slipped through unchecked in South Africa. The city of Johannesburg's Integrated Development Plan, subtitled Reimagining the City Through the Eyes of the Residents, was found to contain AI-generated graphics filled with garbled, incoherent text. In both cases, the outputs were accepted and published without anyone interrogating what the technology had actually produced. Experts say these are failures of oversight and, more critically, failures in understanding what AI systems can and cannot do. Large language models do not reason or verify. They generate possible sounding text based on patterns, producing references that look exactly like real references and images where text appears entirely convincing. Whether the output matches reality requires human readers who know what to look for and are disposed to look. That, experts say, is what critical AI literacy means. Universities, they argue, are the obvious places to develop these capacities. Yet most institutional responses to AI have focused narrowly on detection and discipline, identifying where students have used AI and punishing them for it. Critics say this approach misses the point entirely, producing graduates skilled at evading detection rather than graduates capable of genuine critical engagement. The withdrawal of the draft policy, they conclude, is a teachable moment, but only if universities recognize that deploying AI without critical literacy is not a technical failure, it is an educational one.
Moving on, crowds have taken to the streets of Johannesburg in a demonstration against high levels of illegal immigration, the latest in the wave of protests that has also seen similar gatherings in the capital, Pretoria, on Tuesday. The demonstrators, drawn from various anti-immigration organizations and national forums, are calling on the South African government to strictly enforce existing immigration laws and carry out mass deportation of undocumented foreign nationals. Organizers have pushed back against accusations of xenophobia, insisting their movement is rooted in constitutional rights and the protection of South Africa's economic freedom.
The Johannesburg March brought together multiple organizations united under a common demand that the South African government must take firm and immediate action on illegal immigration. Tshepo Totri, secretary of the Abahambe movement, one of the organizing groups, said the march was a collaborative effort involving different organizations and national forums. He stressed that the purpose was to send a clear message that foreign nationals were taking advantage of South Africans' economic freedom. Totri firmly rejected the xenophobia label, arguing that the movement is about fighting for constitutional rights and freedom of expression, not hatred towards foreigners. The sentiment was echoed by Sanele Nkambule, treasurer of the March and March movement, who called on the government of South Africa to make a formal declaration of commitment to the issue raised by demonstrators. Nkambule stressed that such a declaration should confirm the government's intention to uphold the rule of law, enforce existing legislation, and prioritize the safety, security, and socio-economic well-being of South African citizens. The protest comes at a time of heightened tensions between local and foreign nationals, with South Africa already under international scrutiny following recent xenophobic attacks that prompted Ghana to summon the South African envoy and drew condemnation from governments across the continent. Authorities say they are monitoring the situation closely, but protesters warn that they will continue to mount pressure until the government acts.
The Ghana College of Education and Benji Normal University have signed a memorandum of understanding to establish the West African branch of the China Africa Teacher Education Center in Ghana. The agreement, signed by the principals of both institutions, aims to strengthen teacher training, research collaboration, and professional development across Ghana and the wider West Africa sub-region. The partnership will also integrate emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, into teaching and learning as part of a broader national effort to improve the quality and preparedness of teachers at all levels.
A dedicated center will be established at the Accra College of Education to serve as a hub for training teachers, educators, and researchers using global best practices and modern methodologies. Through workshops, academic exchanges, and research initiatives, the partnership aims to close a persistent gap in teacher quality that has long challenged Ghana and much of sub-Saharan Africa. The principal of the Accra College of Education, Professor Samuel Awinkene Atintono, explained that the partnership was the result of deliberate and sustained engagement between the two institutions beginning in 2025, following participation in academic events in China. He noted that Beijing Normal University was specifically chosen for its global standing and leadership in teacher education, particularly in early childhood education and educational research. Professor Atintono stressed that not all teachers in Ghana and across sub-Saharan Africa currently meet the required professional standards, and that the new center represents a strategic response to that challenge. Speaking on behalf of Education Minister Haruna Idrisu, Deputy Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Smile Gavuajisi, described the initiative as a reflection of the government's strong commitment to teacher education. She stressed that the effective teaching depends entirely on the quality and preparedness of teachers, and that investment in teacher development remains a firm national priority. For Beijing Normal University, Dean of the Faculty of Education, Professor Zhu Zhudong, described the signing as a significant milestone in China-Africa educational cooperation and reaffirmed his institution's commitment to strengthening teacher education systems and promoting policy dialogue between China and Africa.
Ghana's Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations, Sam Nartey George, has called on the International Telecommunication Union, the ITU, to ensure all its sectors are fully represented in the regional level. Delivering Ghana's submission at the ongoing ITU meeting in Geneva, the minister raised concerns about what he described as an imbalance in the global body's regional structure, warning what the current model does not fully fit or reflect the evolving technical needs of member states. He urged the ITU to deploy dedicated technical experts to regional offices, conduct regular sector scientific or specific missions, and strengthen coordination between bureau directors and regional leadership.
Minister Nartey George acknowledged the significant work already being done by the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, across its 6 global regions, recommending the body in particular for initiatives that have directly benefited African member states. He singled out Ghana's participation in the Digital Financial Service Security Clinics, organized through the African Regional Office in collaboration with the Telecommunications Standardization Bureau. The minister described such engagements as providing practical, hands-on training for regulators and called on the ITU to sustain and expand such programs, stressing that these are precisely the kind of capacity-building intervention member states need. However, he raised a pointed concern. Regional activities, he argued, have largely been driven by the Telecommunication Development Bureau alone, and while development work remains important, global technological advancements now demand a more integrated and technically driven approach. He called for greater participation from both the radio communication sector and the telecommunications standardization sector in regional operations, and questioned when arrangements similar to these already in place for standardization staff will be extended to the radio communication sector in Africa. The minister highlighted several areas requiring urgent regional attention, including spectrum management, satellite coordination, and preparations for the World Radio Communication Conference in 2027. He concluded by stressing that a stronger regional presence brings the whole of ITU to its membership, not just one bureau. Ghana, he affirmed, stands ready to engage constructively in shaping reforms that will strengthen the ITU's impact across all member states.
That is all for the top African news. My name is Jemai Mandela Demdoche. Up next is News Review. Stay tuned.
Africa is rising through knowledge, culture, innovation, and through our universities. This May 25th, African Union Day, we gather again. The Association of African Universities Television, AAU TV, invites you to the African Academic Heritage Fair, AAHF 2026, a space where scholarship meets policy, student voices shape continental dialogue, where Africa's brightest minds and boldest ideas come together to drive Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. And this year, we are spotlighting the theme that touches every home, every school, every clinic, every community, assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. Expect a high-level dialogue on water security, sanitation, climate resilience, and human capital. A youth forum, because climate action starts local and youth are leading the way. A research and innovation pitch showcase, where innovators present practical solutions for safe water and sanitation to mentors, funders, and investors. And cultural moment that celebrates Africa's heritage, our identity, our pride. Mark your calendars for Monday, May 23rd, 2026 at 10 a.m. GMT. Join us in person at the AAU Secretariat, Accra, or virtually from anywhere in the world. Register now to celebrate African scholarship and own our future.
Ever wondered what drives ordinary people to do extraordinary things? Every week, a new story unfolds. But these aren't just stories. They are the journeys of courage, resilience, and vision. On Impact Stories, we open the door to remarkable personalities and everyday heroes. Experience the passion behind their purpose. Witness the setbacks, the breakthroughs, and the moments that defines a legacy. Journey with us on AAU TV every Saturday at 4 p.m. as we celebrate those who are making an impact. Tune in to Impact Stories, where real people share real journeys and real impact, each one leaving behind a legacy written in gold. Only on AAU TV.
Hello Africa, keep watching AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa.
This program is proudly sponsored by Venom Mineral Water, Share the Love, and Bigo Drinks. Hello and welcome to the Hello Africa Morning Show, coming to you live from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities here in Accra, Ghana. Just gone by is the top African news, which was done by Jemima. She'll be back later for the lifestyle segment. Stay tuned. In this discussion segment, I'm doing this with my brother, Dr. Ajiman Oshidak. Doc, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, by God's grace, and you?
I'm very well. Just a bit... not 100% fit yet, but I'll get there.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Just need some rest, you know.
I will do just that. I'll do just that. And in today's news discussions, we are talking about Ghana's AI strategy. We are talking about China lifting tariffs off some African exports. We're also talking about malaria vaccine in Cameroon, and then, of course, the xenophobic attacks in South Africa. We cannot sit on an African contextualized show
and not talk about these things happening in Africa. So these are many more coming to you on this segment of the or today's episode of the Hello Africa Morning Show, including some psychosocial issues during the lifestyle segment. So stay tuned and don't go away. So we'll begin with our first story. China has removed tariffs on exports from Ghana and 52 other African countries, and the policy is set to run until 2028, aimed at boosting trade and improving market access. The move eliminates duties on key products such as cocoa, coffee, fruits, and minerals, potentially making African goods more competitive in Chinese markets. While the policy is expected to open new opportunities for exports and investment, analysts caution that structural challenges such as limited industrial capacity and reliance on raw materials may affect how much countries like Ghana ultimately benefit. Doc, what's your first take on this issue about China lifting off tariff from some African exports?
Interestingly, when I heard of the story, I drew a quadrant, right?
Okay.
And the quadrant, I placed Ghana on my left, China on my right.
I'm drawing that now.
Yeah, just draw, wherever you are, just draw a quadrant, 4 sections, all right? And put Ghana on your left and put China on your right.
Okay.
And then write gains for the top and then losses for the down. Ghana is still on your left. So the upper part of the quadrant is gains.
Okay.
The lower part is losses. And let's do some weighing here.
Okay.
So it's more of like a comparative cost-benefit analysis for you to appreciate what this strategic alliance seeks to bring.
Okay.
What transformation does it bring? Now, the first one is that when you reduce or if you eliminate import tariffs, what tariffs do is like your only way to earn, like how the U.S. was just throwing sanctions, tariffs to China and co. The U.S., because if you want to really enter the U.S. market, that is their advantage.
Yeah.
That if you want to enter our market, we can slap with you 100% tax and you bear all that and it will affect your pricing. And when prices are up, who bears the cost? Not the producer, the consumer. So if I'm the one who is doing importation, I will add up the difference where I think I lost and you'll be the one who needs the good to buy that increase. So it's always not a good of whoever is doing it, because the producer or the importer is already, or the exporter has already gotten their money. The last person who bears the huge tranche is the consumer. So there's nothing good about tariffs. It differs on the extent of tariff. But China has been doing business with Ghana or some African countries for so many years. Remember the last time it cast China and Ghana signing this or celebrating, I think, a decade plus of doing business together. And we did a search into what exactly has been the commodity exchange between Ghana and China. Realize that Ghana imports more from China than the other way around. And what we import from them is nothing but fabricated plastic slippers. Whilst we export to them more into so many things, like even oil and cocoa. So it means that the export or the import-export variance is quite huge. We are importing already made goods, which has more value to China than to us, whilst we export more of natural state goods. You understand? So look at Ghana as a developing economy that is still developing its local industries to add value to what we produce. It is true, we've got a good name for ourselves globally in terms of gold production, cocoa, the likes of other fruits and minerals. But we're known for cocoa. We have a very unique cocoa. And we have been doing this for so many years. We export raw cocoa. So if you are exporting in raw terms, in what quantity, what value are you earning? So China can afford, because I mentioned earlier that when you have import tariffs, that is your own way of mobilizing revenue through your ports. So Namibia and Namibia, Mozambique were countries that delayed to ratify the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which was in 2018, because their highest source of revenue is through their ports. And the AFTA deal is to eliminate tariffs in Africa so we can have free entry. So Ghana says, I'm going to scrap off all my tariffs. So whatever goods are coming from Niger, Mali, South Africa, Lesotho are coming in free of charge, so that consumers can also bear and buy. So can you imagine China giving up its import tariffs, whatever the rate would be? What is China's strategic gain in this? I am sacrificing revenue. For what? Maybe I want to encourage exports. Maybe I realize that Ghanaians can export more if there are no import tariffs in China. Therefore, why don't I scrap off my tariffs and encourage Ghanaian exporters to export more of what? Raw goods. Because we don't add value here.
Yeah.
And what is China's leverage? China's leverage is that, well, over so many years, I can sacrifice or I can relinquish these revenues from importation and get raw materials at a cheaper cost, which I can add value to and get more out of it and even export back.
Yeah. That's the downside of what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Because
So,
since I saw this brief, that's the one thing I've been thinking about. Because we are unable to add value here.
yeah.
And so that's how come we export a lot of raw materials to China. So if China is giving us a tariff-free export, whatever, what it means is that we'll be excited about it because we think that we're exporting more.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll make some money though, but who benefits more at the end of the day? Because when they put value on it, sadly, some of these things come back to us.
Yes.
And that's what the bigger problem is.
The money, what money are we talking about here? It is just the exporters, how do you call it? Incentive.
Yeah.
If you're an exporter of cocoa, or everything we do here, as far as cocoa is concerned, is more of like centralized. Government buys the cocoa and does the exportation. So government is the one who sees to earn bigger because now he has nothing of any importation tariff to pay. So it's now free. He can now push more cocoa to China. But the question is, at the end of the day, I can say that we are being ripped off strategically.
I also
It's a
want to
rip-off.
agree with you in that sense because, look, there's the argument that it is more of like a competitive, stronger price, whatever, for exporters.
Yeah.
That's true because the volume of export you do now will be more. But like we are talking about, at the end of the day, when you have exported raw materials and it has, they have put value on it through the various processes that it might go through, all of these things will come back to us. So I think that for now, maybe we can be doing that. But behind all of these things, we must start thinking about how we can put value on all of our raw materials that we produce in this place.
I mean, it's a wake-up call to us. Now, if you have got China saying, a very big economy like China, very big economy, whom we import a lot from, a whole lot from, saying that I am scrapping up tariffs for countries in Africa, which Ghana is part of.
Yeah.
It's a huge advantage for us. It is an incentive for us to strengthen, revamp our industries so that the Chinese market can also fuel our already made value-added Ghanaian goods. Because indeed, our markets are flooded with their goods. Their cars are here, their products all over the place. Today, Chinese merchandise, appliances are all over the place.
Yeah.
And we haven't scrapped, we still maintain tariffs. So any importer from China or any one doing export from China is paying tariffs because they have got import counterparts here.
Yeah.
However, how can we also stay competitive in this opportunity? We can be well positioned if we start to strengthen our local economy, which, I mean, Mr. President John Mahama has said that he's going to strengthen local industries so that Ghana can start exporting cocoa, which we read the story over here, that the president says that he's going to start working towards we having our already made in Ghana value-added cocoa products, which will be exported. That is how we can benefit on a 100% scale for this opportunity. Other than else, it's just a cycle of we buying back what we have sent raw and less by buy more.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem in this thing. So I'll be glad that something can be done about this, and then we can put proper value on every raw material that we export out of this country. I mean, when it comes to the Ghana-China relationship, I mean, this is not to say that we are against progress for China, at the expense of Ghana. No, that's not what we are talking about.
No.
What we're just trying to say is that it makes good sense that we can also put value on the things that we produce here, boost our economy and make it stronger. When it comes to the tariffs that we put on imports from China, I don't think we are in that position yet to open up our space to do same for China because of the bilateral trade, whatever. We don't have the same capacity.
We don't.
And that will mess us up economically if we try that kind of thing. I'm glad that it's not even up for debate already.
This is not perpetual. This is a 2-year deal. So in 2028, this will come to an end.
Yes.
So China is just being deliberate in trying to help a friend out.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? You know, this friend that is being helped has not done a lot of work in strengthening its own institutions. And so how do you take at full advantage? It's like the playground is open, but you have no football boots to play.
True.
You are still going to play on barefoot. And you know that when you go to the pitch with your barefoot, you can play all right, but you cannot play to your maximum capacity because
absolutely
how well I will strike a football with my ball boots is higher than and much stronger than the one with the barefoot. So we should have gotten our football boots on. And the question is, are we able to get it on between 2026 to 2028 and get maximum benefit? That is the question.
I like that question because it always brings me back to the point of sustainability. I've always talked about sustainability when we talk about policies in Africa. Funding and sustainability are two key things. So we always have fantastic plans. Thankfully, this agreement, for example, is in place for now. It looks like in the short term, it looks good. But in the long term, this is not what it is. Because if you want to look at success in the long term, it will depend on whether we move up the value chain or we remain exporters of raw materials.
That's where value in this sense can be measured. How far have we gone on the production value chain? And let me tell you something. There's another huge indictment that this offer comes in an angle. You know the African Continental Free Trade Area agreement. Now this was measured at a 2.3 billion economy that can be harnessed just by African countries, 54 of us, trading amongst ourselves. In May 2018, somewhere in Addis Ababa, this Rwanda, this was realized. It was surprising that out of the 54, 20-something ratified, saying that we outrightly believe in this treaty and we will take it up. But the remaining had to go and do a further thought. And I mentioned countries like Namibia, Mozambique, who are more of like sea-locked. Their biggest gain is that they are close to the coast. And so they are tariffs bound. They haven't got further resources like how others have got. So if they are to cancel tariffs, that is I would say, the economic integration is the first ground where your economy is open. Because we have got several levels of integration. We've got political integration, economic integration, we've got customs union, whereby every level and what happens unilaterally. So let's say for the first ground, trade tariffs or barriers to trade are eliminated. Ghana can import anything to Niger. Niger can import to Nigeria without any restrictions or any tariff. So export, inter-African exports are high. But there were issues. We were so ambitious in January 2020 that we want to have a common currency.
I remember that.
Finance ministers or heads of finance institutions across the country met in Nigeria. What happened? We were stricken with a big challenge that there are public debt variances across the countries in Africa. Niger's public debt can be compared to Nigeria. And beyond that is capacity. Can Niger's quality match up to Nigerian quality? Can Togo match up to Ghana? And some are very picky. So we couldn't agree. We had to abolish. These are underlying inhibiting factors that are retrogressing our progress in this one continent, one trade agenda. So China is saying that I have got capacity. I, as a single country in Asia, can give you trade off or trade tariff free for 2 years. But yet, African countries, can you come together and do yourself a favor for even a pilot for a month?
That's a very
are you seeing the power play dynamics here?
That's a very huge question.
One Asian giant can say, I can sample some African countries and say, I'm giving you 2 years tariffs free. But can you do that? And indirectly, I'm speaking to you. That can you do that for yourselves for even a month, where you can export to each other at zero tariffs, as part of your own ambition?
This
As a trade area.
In an attempt to answer that, this just tells you how much we are unprepared in Africa, or as a continent. And this is why the AfCFTA thing is still not seen.
It's lingering. It's there.
You know, like the light of day. It's the policies are there, the structures are there, but the rate at which
Secretariat is there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I follow them on social media. I see what they do month in, week out. Look, we are making in proper context slow progress.
Yeah.
Very slow progress.
Yeah.
Because I see what's happening, but it doesn't reflect on the various economic indicators in the African in the various countries.
There are lots of unfortunate things happening. So recently, South Africa, that was in the last year, South Africa granted visa free. So it's part of it.
Yes.
So the free movement protocol was one of the important aspects of this trade area. That first of all, for us to trade freely, we need to ensure that everybody can move freely across board.
Yeah.
Movement of human beings and also goods and services must move freely, fluid.
Yeah.
So South Africa said, okay, I think I now understand. Every Ghanaian that comes to South Africa comes visa free. It's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah.
It means we are getting somewhere. But it has come to meet what? Xenophobic attacks.
Yeah.
How can we integrate? How can we flow in terms of persons and goods and services when in a country that just opened itself for free visa entry, be now mounting people picketing across the streets all day and night in the name of go back to your country and go and make a country? Is this a factor, or is this a motivation for this trade area to survive?
This is very interesting.
Are we really seeing things work for our good?
It's interesting. I'm glad that you mentioned it, because it's one of the stories we are going to be looking at later today.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll move on to our next story, and we're still in Africa. This time we're in Cameroon, and we're talking about malaria now. Malaria is really huge in Africa. So Cameroon is among the latest countries reporting encouraging early results from the rollout of malaria vaccines. At Soa District Hospital, mothers say vaccinated children are experiencing fewer malaria cases and milder symptoms during peak transmission seasons. This comes as Africa continues to battle one of its deadliest diseases among children under 5, who account for the majority of malaria deaths. Health experts, including Gavi and the World Health Organization, say the vaccine is most effective when administered fully and timed ahead of high-risk seasons. While still being introduced gradually across the continent, early pilot programs in countries such as Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi are already showing reductions in severe malaria cases and hospital admissions. This sounds interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because it looks like there's some progress being recorded.
Yeah.
And let me just do a quick breakdown on the public health breakthrough in Cameroon. So mothers at Soa District Hospital report a noticeable decline in malaria infections among vaccinated children. These are children under 5.
Yeah.
And households also describe fewer hospital visits, milder symptoms, and improved child survival outcomes following full vaccination schedules. Early local evidence suggests stronger protection when doses are completed before peak rainy seasons, when malaria transmission is highest. Okay, so we just keep going on and on into it, but this is just the basic information regarding what is coming out from Cameroon. And I'm glad to know that, first of all, Ghana, Kenya, Malawi are already showing reduction signs in severe malaria cases in hospital admissions among children. I'm happy to hear about this, because over a long period of time, it's interesting how malaria has been a big killer of Africans.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to hear about this breakthrough in Cameroon, and already Ghana, Kenya, Malawi have set the pace on the dock. Your take on this, please?
I mean, it's an impressive outcome that we're seeing a vaccine that is really making great strides within the sub-region. And that is exactly, I mean, the whole progress with life that we were looking for at this point, where we can now have a vaccine that can really help us curb and curtail the impact of, I'll say, the menace of malaria, which is a very wicked killer. I witnessed a young girl who passed away from malaria, and I was stunned. I never knew malaria could ruthlessly kill people like that.
It's different when you see it, and it's different when you hear about it. Many of us have just heard about it. Let me say, fortunately for some of us, let's say in Ghana, we have survived it many times. So it doesn't look like what we hear in the stories, but it's very different when you see it or you have seen anything of the sort, whether by social media or somebody close to you in that regard. It's because most of the time we're able to survive.
We just hear and we hear the numbers and we think that it's just figures, but this is real. I mean, then I was brought to I felt that this is serious. Malaria is that ruthless. It can really take lives. But interestingly, another aspect to this whole good news that we're sharing is that it dawns on us, are we still treading on reactive approaches, or are we working on eradicating the source of the problem? Malaria is highly driven by mosquitoes who are bred through our environment, our water bodies, which are stagnant, poor sanitation. These are all the sites that help malaria to thrive. The question is, whilst there's a vaccine that is making strides, we should also look at fixing the rudimentary ones. The rudiment is that we have to keep our environment clean. We can't keep languishing in debt, immense debt. We can't keep languishing in environments which are choked with water bodies and dumpings indiscriminately done and becoming breed points for mosquitoes everywhere, and still be fighting diseases like this. So much money we are spending in vaccines. Vaccine nationalism is important, but it's expensive. Are we going to keep doing this extinguishing approach, or we're going to go to the right sources and make malaria a thing of the past?
Absolutely.
Which we can.
It is a possible thing. And I like the angle from which you have come from, whether we are looking at the root cause of it or we are just looking at managing the situation, basically. But I think that we should be able to find tackle it from the root cause, so that then we are not having it again. So all of these factors you have mentioned, where there's poor sanitation, stagnant waters, and all of these things, these are things that locally we should be able to take care of, whether in our own environments, by the government, or whatever. Either ways, somebody must be able to take care of these things, because these are little things that come together to become a national problem or a continental problem. So we need to look at it from that angle as well. You know, we are always quick to talk about how we blame institutions, stakeholders, and all of these things, or people involved, and then we forget about the individuals who are directly affected by it. Because I mean, if you don't do your part, and tomorrow you are affected by malaria, I mean, how many people in government know you or your family members who can come to your aid? It might be too late.
Yes, and then, Phil, look at this. If you look at this very well, this program is supported by, or is initiated by the World Health Organization, PATH, and UNICEF, championed through the Ghana Health Service. You remember, from 2024, 2025, we realized a very poor shift, or say a negative shift, in international donor agencies. You know about what happened to USAID, right? USAID had to cancel its funding completely, or majority of its funding to Africa was cancelled. And I would say literally rendering USAID a bit defunct in its focus and impact on Africa. Why? Because the president, the US President Trump, wasn't believing or didn't believe in the outlets or the purpose or the goals of these funding. This is the first wake-up call for African countries who are not working on solving or avoiding the menace or the catastrophes that affect them, but are waiting and relying on donor funding. Because sometimes, even within our country, there are some things we write or we feel that this will be handled by donors. Yes, we do.
That's we don't make provisions. That's very
We
unfortunate.
make no provision because we think that this will be handled by a donor.
Yes.
But a time comes, no donor will bring money for malaria vaccination.
Look, I've always believed that African problems must be handled by Africans. Look, we cannot keep relying on the West forever. It's about time we look into these things. So I'm always excited to hear when even vaccines are coming out of Africa, because we hardly produce these things. We are always dependent on, the foreign, the Western world to come up with vaccines for all of the things that are brought. Meanwhile, malaria is an African thing. Or let me say, it bothers Africans the most.
Yeah.
So why we want to be waiting for...
A sub-Saharan African issue,
Yeah.
to be precise, because
Yeah.
in East Africa, you don't
Yeah.
really get that
So
effect.
why we want to be waiting for another country or continent to be helping us is a thing I do not understand. Okay, because we have talked about how long these things have plagued us, and it's a huge killer.
Yeah.
When you talk about top 5 diseases in the sub-region that kills, malaria is one of them. So I do not know why we still want to be waiting for, help. I mean, give or take, whatever may have happened has happened already. But that's, for me, like you said, is a wake-up call. This is where we have to come back to our senses and say that, look, this is our problem. We need to come alive. We need to come together, all the stakeholders, all the people involved, and then do what we have to do to solve this problem.
Even WHO had some parts of their funding streams cut. WHO, I think, early part of 2025 was also affected by the funding.
Okay.
And the US government also made that clear, that some parts, the WHO had to also work on funding HIV/AIDS research in Lesotho. Some of these things were cut.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest donors, the US government, had to cut some of these funding streams. The HIV/AIDS, some parts of cholera, all these things were cut. So you see that gradually, a lot of funding pathway for health research, for health interventions, which are coming from the regular donors, are going to dwindle. In fact, they began to dwindle. It was a sign.
Yeah.
So right from the word go, if you are in your country, Cameroon, Ghana, whatsoever, and you are looking at relegating some health issues or health interventions for donor intervention, or donor attraction, you will not get it. You must start looking at how do I eradicate these from the roots. If it's malaria, then we have to start cleaning our environment. Clean your frontage. Ensure that the gutters are flowing, there are no stagnations, because that is where they are bred.
Yeah.
Our economy or our climate is not like that of the East African side. It's not really cold to say it detects mosquitoes. It's quite tropical. So they thrive here a lot. So the only way is drive them away, let the waters flow, clean your environment, and don't leave any area where mosquitoes can breed, because we know how they breed.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we wrap up on this story, just by way of statistics, okay, according to the World Health Organization, approximately 70% of malaria deaths in Cameroon occur in children under 5 years.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
They are vulnerable.
70%.
They are vulnerable. Phil, the reason is that, at your age, if you are bitten by a mosquito and you start to feel symptoms of malaria, your immune systems are much better, stronger, and are able to withstand the shocks and the effects. But under 5 years,
That's
under
bad.
5 years, they are very vulnerable. Their immune systems are not so strong, and they are weak. They are vulnerable. They can be manipulated. They can be affected. They can be attacked. And that's where, if we don't have the systems well ready, we lose them all the time because they are weak.
I'm sad to read this right now. Like this is crazy.
They die.
70%.
They die.
Because it's giving me a lot of things to think about. Because children under 5 years, how would a mother feel losing a child under 5 years? Because think about pregnancy, the 9 months, all of these things, the infancy, toddlers, and under 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that's now that's a proper wake up call.
The young lady who passed away because of malaria was 15 years. She was 15 years.
So
I was shocked.
So
that
even
at that
15
age, she
years.
could die.
Yeah.
Malaria.
Even
How
as
much
a
more
15 years.
under 5 years?
No, this is not right.
Very serious.
We don't deserve this. We do not deserve this.
Yeah.
So the introduction of the vaccines marks a historic shift in Africa's disease prevention strategy, which is really great. So I just hope and pray that as we have piloted in Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi now, Cameroon is also giving us very good results. The rest of the sub-region wants to take advantage of it and do what we have to do, because, like, I agree that this vaccine is coming in because we need it from the infancy so that children will not suffer this anymore. Because why would a mother have to go through pregnancy after 9 months and under 5 years their child died? Then what was the reason for going through the pregnancy?
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's not cool. So that's about it. Anyway, some background information also states that Ghana was the first country to approve the R21 matrix and malaria vaccine and has been piloting it since 2019, successfully reducing child deaths. The vaccine is also administered in 4 doses to children from 6 to 18 months, covering 136 districts and targeting roughly 600,000 children annually. The program has also shown high safety and effectiveness. The key details here are this. Ghana uses both the RTS S and /AS01 and is implementing the new R21 Matrix M vaccine. Initially piloted in 42 districts in 2019, the program has expanded to 136 districts across Ghana. So that's by way of statistics, so you know how the vaccine is working so far. So if you're in any district that this is not working in Ghana, send your comment. Let's see, and let's talk about it, and let's see who we can contact with regards to this information. Before we get into the next story, and there's a comment here from Fred in Nigeria, and Fred says, "What are they going to sell to China when China already built everything? After all these years, now removing tariffs on a few selected products is supposed to be a big move. Tariff removal on products that can't even compete in the Chinese market." Okay, Fred.
That's a very, very strong one.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, these are very thought provoking if you look at it, because what's the point? I mean, it's like I'm saying that I'm doing you a favor. This whole repatriation thing, like, I've taken so much from you, I think I have nothing to lose, because it's been so many years and now we're just enjoying 2 years of tariffs. What kind of favor, what kind of give back is that? How do you call that? Is it? I mean, how do you call that?
Now I'm interested to know what happens after the 2 years.
Well,
After 2020.
we go back to business as usual. Yeah, to go back to the norm. Yeah,
We'll see about that.
sure.
Anyway, in our next story, Nigeria has officially summoned South Africa's acting high commissioner following a surge in reported attacks on foreign nationals, including Nigerians, Ethiopians, and other African migrants. The Nigerian government says it will express profound concern over what it describes as documented cases of violence, harassment, and destruction of migrants-owned businesses. The diplomatic engagement comes amid renewed anti-immigrant demonstrations in South Africa, where some groups have targeted foreign-owned shops and demanded identity checks in public spaces. While South African authorities have condemned the violence, tensions continue to rise, raising broader concerns about xenophobia, regional unity, and the safety of African migrants within the continent's most industrialized economy. Doc, we were talking about this earlier, because the after issue somehow, some way, found one of its tentacles in this story. What do you make of this, Doc?
You know, I'm privileged to have a colleague who's a Ghanaian who's lived in South Africa for like 15 years.
Okay.
And his name is Dr. Moses Kumdasi.
Okay.
And his South African name is Mbulelo.
Okay.
I think he will tell us the
What
meaning
would
later
that
on.
mean?
I have no idea what
I'd
it
love
is.
to know what
I
it
think we
means,
should
but
tell us
if-
what the meaning is later on.
Yeah.
If you're watching
like the
us,
sound of the
if you're
name
watching
anyway.
us, this is what he says. He had this piece he wrote on social media expressing his own view about this whole xenophobic attack, which is quite selective. Not all Africans are being attacked. Some of them are left alone. Some of them have alliance with South Africans. But I think Ghanaians, Nigerians, Zimbabweans are the ones who have been under attack for some time now. And this does not represent, according to him, this act does not represent the ideology of the entire South African neighbor or community.
Okay.
Some South Africans are the ones who are on this rampage. And he says that to make a point that sometimes we must represent our countries and make sure that the goodwill of our countries are well shared. If you are a Ghanaian who lives in China, you are equally an ambassador of Ghana to China.
True.
your actions consistently speak volumes of who you are and what you represent as a community builder or one that really retrogresses community. It has come to the fore of South Africans over time that the behaviors of some African countries or some Africans who are there has caused all these agitations to erupt. Or the complaint about Nigerians. Nigerians, if you know Nigerians are ordinarily primarily enthusiasts.
Yeah.
They have got that gift right from the beginning. Wherever they go, they want to exploit. But how are they exploiting? Are they exploiting responsibly or are they exploiting irresponsibly?
Yeah.
You then become a target because your actions are quite deplorable to the growth of the community. Why? We heard of xenophobic attack 5 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was targeted at Nigerians alone. They went
I
around
remember that.
targeting Nigerians. If you're Nigerian, you should go back. By that time, we didn't hear of Ghanaians. It's now that we're seeing that Ghanaians have even been pulled in. That is a bigger picture. But the Nigerian effect, and that's why they have called for this meeting to have a discussion, because one of the biggest people on the lineup, or quite blacklisted in South Africa, are the Nigerians. Because it is believed that their actions are quite deplorable. The way they live their life doesn't really reflect the community they're in. They are bringing in lots of diverse norms, which are quite varying to the norms of South African people. And that's why they are so bent on and trying to repatriate them. And this discussion means a lot. This talk, to me, means a lot to Africa's unity. If the Nigerian and South African diplomatic envoys sit and cannot and are unable to come to a better conclusion on how they can live in peace, this will be the beginning of, I would say, the breakage or the break-off of African unity. Because South Africa plays a major role in Africa's long history.
True.
Nigeria also plays a major role. These are big elephant.
Yeah.
Nigeria is the biggest economy, largest economy in Africa.
Yeah.
South Africa is the most advanced economy, or one of the most advanced economies in Africa. So you see that the South Belt, I'll say, we have got the North and the South. And we share the South-South side.
Yeah.
Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, we're all on the lower belt. So we need that cooperation more than ever. And we would have to find a way around this.
We indeed have to find a way around it because, for me, first of all, it doesn't speak well of us as Africans.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm interested pretty much in knowing is this. First of all, what exactly is the crime? What exactly are the South Africans not happy about? I think this is where the thing has to begin from. And when we know this, we can go into why Nigerians, why Ghanaians, and what they are doing wrong or what they are not doing correctly. Okay, when we look at it from this point of view, then we can have a proper conversation. I saw a post yesterday on social media where Julius Malema was talking about the fact that you may be angry, but how you are handling this is not the right way to handle it. In all of the ways you have handled this so far, how many jobs have you created? That's a question to the South Africans who are, taking up this action. Okay, so I feel like this is where everybody must slow down, take a seat, and let's have a conversation about this matter. Because what the questions that Malema is asking is really making sense to me. So let's begin the conversation. Why the attacks? Where is it coming from? What did these people do? What didn't they do? How are they supposed to do it? Because, like we said, South Africa has given access to many other countries to come in without even a visa.
Yeah.
So it means that you can come in once you have the right permits and whatever. You can have businesses and all of those things. Other countries are also doing the same for South Africa as well. So the continent is trying to move on. But if the people of the continent are sabotaging the idea and the progress of the continent. I don't know where we are going then.
Yeah.
It's like you take 2 steps forward, then you take 1 step back.
No, for them, you see, the South African plight, it's not a matter of, it's not a matter that is being discussed today or can be discussed today. This is a long trajectory of pain and bitterness. And I'm saying this because it is what it is. We have a South Africa that had, I would say, grown unapologetic, without any apology, had grown without any adequate compensation.
Okay.
Had to find a way out of some pain-stricken life. Apartheid. Apartheid is one of the most brutish experiences you can have in anywhere.
Yeah.
Living in your own country, but given strict and very clear limitations to your own progress. Can you imagine somewhere in Ghana in the 80s or 70s, where even in Ghana, they said there's a street meant for colored people in Ghana.
I remember that
There's a school in Ghana that's meant for colored people.
As a matter of fact, there were bathrooms for colored people.
You can imagine,
Yeah.
in Ghana, your own country, Ghana, you had a kilo by, said for this area, it's for colored people. And you've been in this for like 20 years. How does it create, how do you feel?
Yeah.
How would that influence you? So you have people who have gone through these difficult experiences, and that has now given, slavery. Those who were taken to slavery to the states, the diasporans, are still going through it today. Who says that the Black American or the African living in America is liberated fully? They still undergo fragments of racism.
True.
And they have to survive through it each and every day. We saw the likes of Floyd Banks, who was killed by a police officer.
Oh, yeah.
Through this random search, which ordinarily couldn't have been done to a white person, but for black people, you are always called for it because you look like a criminal every day in the US. It's an everyday thing.
I remember the George Floyd story.
Yes.
I remember that story.
So Phil, imagine a pseudo kind of this experience in South Africa, where the whites were there, they claimed ownership of all the lands and everything, major businesses, and the blacks felt that they were just tied and caged, and they had to revolt. So all these revolts and everything came with death, came with marginalization, segregation, and all that. These are the people who are now feeling that their fellow Black African could also be one of their problems. Because now you can't contend with the white man anymore. The next person you can vent your frustration on is a fellow black man who is taking the little bread that the little bread that you think you are having. They're having that with you, and even they came in and are doing better than you. Are you sure you're going to stand there and fold your arms? You are going to revolt. But you see, with all these antecedents, it doesn't reflect Pan-Africanism.
Yeah.
It doesn't portray that esprit de corps, esprit de cooperation for Africans, that we are moving forward. South Africans are Africans.
Yeah.
It's sad that they've been through all this, but we are trying to build a new Africa where we have to throw away all the bitter experiences and forge our way forward. So if your fellow African comes to South Africa and does business, do business as well.
This is hard.
Because in Ghana, for example, we have the GIPC Act, the Ghana Investment Commission Act. The GIPC Act says that nobody, or no foreigner, whether from an African country or European or whatsoever, can come and start a wholesale business, because the wholesale business should be to the advantage of the Ghanaian.
Yeah.
You can start a retail business so that you can now patronize the Ghanaian.
Yeah.
Is that not securing enough in terms of jobs?
Yeah.
Yes. So if there's any policy way, for example, they said Nigerians, recently we were trying to picket that Nigerians sell cheaper spare parts than us, because China exports a lot of goods to Nigeria at cheap rates, and Nigerians also bring them to Ghana. So we have to go through lots of import tariffs and therefore increase our prices and make our prices quite unbearable. So we buy from Nigerians. The Ghanaians were not happy. and wanted Nigerians off the markets. And we had to stand in and say, no, you don't do that.
This is a very difficult thing to talk
so
about.
So maybe perhaps we should go and then fix systems policy-wise. So
for me, it comes to
the interest
policy.
of the South African is protected.
Yeah.
So they don't jealous the Nigerian or Tanzania or whatsoever. So that we can all rule.
Yes, because how the situation stands now, I mean, today is South Africa. We have had a subtle one in Ghana, between Ghana and Nigeria, and all
which didn't succeed.
Yeah.
If by now we can't be talking about this.
Yeah, because this thing could start brewing anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because Africans travel a lot, not only to Europe and America, but to other African countries.
Yeah.
To do anything that they have to do when it comes to survival and all of this. So I feel like these are things that has to be tackled. But for educational purposes, we just have to let our viewers know the reasons for which this thing is happening in South Africa is that the immigrants are being accused of taking jobs from South Africans, and they are being accused of operating illegally, and they are being also accused of being linked to crime, including drug trafficking. Yeah. So these are some of the things.
I mean
these are accusations.
No, I mean,
these are accusations.
You see, these are just random speculations, because if somebody is arrested for drug trafficking, it's not, we can't target to a country. If you are found liable for an offense in Ghana, you are found as a person.
Yeah.
You are not here on behalf of the Nigerian government or whatsoever government to come and do that. You cannot say it is a Nigerian behavior. If somebody is caught doing drug trafficking in Ghana and they are from China, do we say that is a Chinese government initiative? No. It's the Chinese who is doing this to tarnish his own image. And therefore, we deal with you. But in our country, when we catch you, we don't prosecute you. We will extradite you. So do what you think you will do to help yourself.
Okay. This is very hard again to say, because anytime I look at the figures, like something triggers in my mind, because we are talking about 2.4 million migrants who form about 4% of South Africa's population. So let's just say even if half of these people are part of the target, this is crazy. These are people who, even if, let's assume that they have traveled to South Africa for whatever reason, economic reasons, these are people who travel to go and make gains for their families.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's look at the repercussions when we talk about the case and not leave it on the face value. So I'm glad that the president has made interventions, but President Cyril Ramaphosa, this is not enough. You and your cabinet and whoever is responsible, your security officers, please do more than enough to keep the peace.
You are right on the more than enough, because I learned that even security officials are involved. The police is part of the picketing.
Yes.
And if the people who are supposed to stand unbiased to protect the interests of the immigrants and anybody else who should be impartial is even part of this maligned protest, then there's no hope. It means they are out of control. And is President Ramaphosa really in control? Because if he is, he should call his security forces to order. They are not part of the protest. They should not be a part of it at all. If the people are trying to share their frustration, they should be guarded. They should be directed. And if you, the forces who are there to ensure fair process, are also part of this, I would say, corrupt and brutal activity, then South Africa is really on a huge brink of losing its image globally.
On this sad note, we'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll have event updates. Stay tuned.
Africa is rising through knowledge, culture, innovation, and through our universities. This May 25th, African Union Day, we gather again. The Association of African Universities Television, AAU-TV, invites you to the African Academic Heritage Fair, AAHF 2026, a space where scholarship meets policy, student voices shape continental dialogue, where Africa's brightest minds and boldest ideas come together to drive Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. And this year, we are spotlighting the theme that touches every home, every school, every clinic, every community, assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. Expect a high-level dialogue on water security, sanitation, climate resilience, and human capital. A youth forum, because climate action starts local and youth are leading the way. A research and innovation pitch showcase, where innovators present practical solutions for safe water and sanitation to mentors, funders, and investors. And cultural moment that celebrates Africa's heritage, our identity, our pride. Mark your calendars for Monday, May 23rd, 2026 at 10 a.m. GMT. Join us in person at the AAU Secretariat, Accra, or virtually from anywhere in the world. Register now to celebrate African scholarship and own our future.
Explore a whole new world of exciting visuals with AAU TV. Get ready for a mix of interesting talk shows, interviews, discovery documentaries, and news on AAU TV. It's not just about watching TV, it's about experiencing something special. AAU TV reaches over 25 countries in Africa, bringing you a blend of knowledge and fun. Learn about different cultures as you enjoy the shows. If you have events or want to showcase your business, we've got you covered. Watch AAU TV free-to-air channel on satellite. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter, at AAU TV. Reach out on call or WhatsApp us at +233 26 629 6601 or +233 20 399 5210. AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa.
Hello, Africa. Keep watching AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa.
This program is proudly sponsored by Venom Mineral Water, Share the Love, and Bigo Drinks.
Through AAU TV, the Association of African Universities invites you to the African Academic Heritage Fair, AAHF 2026, a dynamic Pan-African platform marking African Union Day. Under the theme, Sustainable Water Availability and Safe Sanitation, the role of higher education in achieving Agenda 2063. The AAHF 2026 will bring together invested leaders, researchers, students, policymakers, and partners. What to expect? High-level policy dialogue on water security and climate resilience youth forum, spotlighting student-led solutions, research and innovation pitching to funders and partners, cultural showcases celebrating African Day, happening on 25th May 2026, 10 a.m. GMT at the AAU Secretariat, Accra. For more information, visit the link on your screen or contact the emails on your screen. Be part of the movement connecting African knowledge to real-world impact.
Applications are now open for the 2026 UNFPA Youth Leaders YOLO Fellowship Program. UNFAP Ghana, in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment, in partnership with the University of Ghana School of Continuing and Distance Education at the Center for Digital Youth Development and United Nations Volunteer Program, invite qualified young people in Ghana to apply for the 8th cohort of the Heads of State Awards Scheme-Winning Youth Leaders Fellowship Program. The fellowship is open to youth leaders serving with youth-led, youth-focused, youth-serving organizations, CSOs, NGOs, and public institutions. Application deadline is 14th May 2026. For more information, visit the link on your screen.
Africa, keep watching AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa.
This program is proudly sponsored by Venom Mineral Water, Share the Love, and Bigo Drinks.
Welcome back from the break, and this is still the Hello Africa Morning Show. My name is Jimaima Deladem Doche, and you're welcome to the lifestyle segment. So today we have quite an interesting story that we would like to talk about. That is understanding psychosocial stress in the workplace. So as the world mark International Workers' Day on May 1, attention is turning to the state of workers' well-being. A new report by the International Labour Organization is casting a spotlight on a growing but often overlooked crisis within the global workforce. So there was a report that reveals that more than 840,000 people die each year from psychosocial risk linked to workplace stress. Factors such as long working hours, job insecurity, and workplace bullying are affecting or are identified as major contributors leading to cardiovascular diseases, mental health challenges, and even suicide. So we know that this findings actually underscores a stark reality. While May Day celebrates labor and progress, the modern work environment is increasingly exposing workers to serious mental and physical health. And beyond the human cause, these conditions, as we know, are also affecting productivity and economic performance globally. So today I have with me an amazing guest, Gloria Sarkodie Addo, and she is a counseling psychologist and community mental health and rehabilitation specialist. Hi, Gloria, please, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning. I
Good
can please hear you.
morning. How are you doing?
I'm very fine by God's grace. Yourself?
I'm doing well. We are glad to have you.
All right. So a very good morning to all your cherished listeners and then viewers as well.
Okay, thank you. So today we want to talk about understanding psychosocial stress at the workplace. But before we get deeper into the conversation, let's talk about psychosocial risk at the workplace, what it really means. I mean, with you coming from the health sector and the counseling unit as well.
All right. So when we talk of psychosocial risk, these are simply the emotional and mental pressures, okay, people normally face at work, and it can affect both their minds and then their body. So to simply put, these are simple things that really happens at work that makes people constantly stressed, anxious, unhappy, and even sometimes emotionally drained. In your earlier in your video, I think you outlisted most of them, and I'll give simple example. That is too much workload with little support. When you come to most of our organizations, you will see that people have a higher task. Do this within a deadline. And unfortunately, they may not have the necessary or needed support to even encourage them to do more. Another example of psychosocial risk.
Before we continue, please, is it possible to put on your camera for us? Hi, Gloria.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Hello. Good morning.
Please, is it possible to turn on your camera for us?
Yes, my camera is on. Can you see me?
Okay. Okay. Yes, please. We can continue. Yes, we can continue.
Okay. So I mentioned earlier on, in breaking psychosocial risk, it simply means that those are emotional and mental pressures that people normally face at work, and it affects their body and then their mind. which constantly lead them to be stressed up, to be anxious, sometimes unhappy, and then mostly they feel emotionally drained. So simple examples of the psychosocial risk we can talk of is too much workload with little support. And you agree with me that when you come to most organizations, specifically in Africa here, a lot of people are expected to do so much within a given time. Sometimes there is little support, other times there is no support at all. Then we even have bullying and harassment. So the bullying may not necessarily be physical, but it could be psychological. We have job insecurity as an example of a psychosocial risk. People are working and they don't know the fate in the next 2-3 months to come. You know, some years back during the COVID era, you saw how people were just losing job because they were not so secured. Anytime there is a pandemic breakdown, the fear part of those who are psychosocially, it becomes a bit challenging. Then we have poor management as also an example of the psychosocial risk. Yes, people go to school to do various managerial courses, but in reality on the ground, do they really practice what they learn? So it's about a straitjacket rule which applies to everybody. When it happens like that, psychosocially, individuals don't feel too well and good. Then lack of rest. So mayday, you could see that sometimes because of even financial pressure, instead of resting at home because it's a global holiday for every worker, because of that little money you may be earning or get on that day, you will prefer to trade that rest hour to work and then make that money. If this continues constantly, trust me, psychosocially, you won't be a healthy person. And then we have toxic work culture. So certain environments are so toxic to the extent that when you wake up, the thought of coming to work, coming to sit in that toxic environment, you have an unfriendly boss, an unfriendly colleague, even your subordinates in the office may be so toxic to the extent that the mere thought of you coming to work, trust me, psychosocially, it breaks you down. And this is not just stress, but sometimes the work environment begins to affect your sleep, your mood, your relationship, your health, and even your performance in general.
Okay. You know, many people actually say that this is how the work environment is, or this is what we are, we've been met with. At what point does normal pressure cross to become harm, or crossover and then get so harmful?
Right. So first of all, pressure itself is normal when it motivates you and is temporal. But the moment it becomes so harmful and constant and recovery becomes so impossible, that is when you know that, yes, it is really a harm. And some few red flags I would like to mention to let you know is one, when there is constant exhaustion, you are always exhausted constantly. When there is frequent headaches, unexplained bodily pains, you wake up in the morning and you could feel pain all over. When there is difficulty sleeping, you go to your bed and you just be counting your ceilings. Sleep will not just come. When there is also loss of motivation, you are working without anybody even telling you how well you are helping this company, how good your strategies are boosting productivity. Those loss of motivation equally leads to that point. And then when there is anxiety before work, the fear of what will happen next. As I'm going to work yesterday, I didn't finish my work. How is my director or even my colleague going to handle this issue? Another red flag is emotional breakdowns. So emotionally, because you are not up to standard, there is this constant and continuous breakdown. And then it becomes so visible that you are highly irritable. And then at a point, you feel withdrawn. So the moment you see those cardinal signs, those red flags, then you should know that it has gotten to the point of not the ordinary pressure, but you've gotten to the point.
Okay. You know, at our workplace, there are some silent suffering, some employees do not speak up. Some people are scared of losing their jobs, and they are protecting their mental health because, when you speak up, sometimes you end up, being on the other side. And now you have to now think of a whole lot of things that are going on, the backlashes or comments or any reaction that will come from you speaking up as an individual who is going through these. As a young person, as a young person who is entering the work environment, do you think these young people are conditioned into unhealthy work habits at the very much too early stages of their work life?
Yes, a very big yes, because many young professionals are entering work environments where overworking is highly glorified. And then they often, they are made to understand that, hey, you have some dues to pay, so you don't have any option than to do this work. Hey, this is how success starts. You have to break your back and go that extra mile. You need to know that sleep is not for the weak. In creating this for the young person who now enters into a profession or the job market, trust me, it's an unhealthy way, because you've made the person to know that there is a price to pay. And this makes it very difficult for them to even create certain boundaries. So this really creates unhealthy boundaries, such as poor boundaries for them, work addiction, because I've been told that work is for the hard person. I will have to kill myself, go the extra mile, even if there is no motivation, even if there is no support, even if wherever I'm working with is under-resourced, I will still have to be a workaholic. And then this leads to chronic stress and then burnout very early in their career life. Yes, hard work, we all know, is very important, but we also need to know that exploitation should not be mistaken for ambition. Okay, so they are being exploited before they even get into their respective careers or job markets.
So now let's come to the Africa reality. I think in your earlier submission, you made mention of the fact that in this part of the world, we, in quotes, glorify, people spending so much time or hours, long time hours at their workplace or on their job. Now, do you see the difference in how workplace stress manifests in African institutions as compared to global trends? What really is the difference? What are we not doing right? What is happening outside there that we think as Africans we can pick up to help when it comes to workplace balance and our personal lives?
Right. So in African workplaces, you will agree with me that hierarchy, we all know, is stronger, making most employees are even afraid to challenge authority. So the African workplace should be that flexible, so that when you are going through something, when an authority is not acting right, being an assertive person, you should be able to voice it out. Again, in our African setting, we all know that mental health is one area that is so much stigmatized. So yes, as an African in a setup, if I know that when I tell my boss I'm dealing with depression, anxiety, or even stress, I'll be his first target when they need to downsize, people in the organization. So we have to, as Africans, make mental health a normal conversation so that everybody can easily come out openly and discuss about it. And then when it comes to policies, you see, policies may exist on paper, but in practice, no. You go to most organizations within our African setting, we have chunks of policies well written. But trust me, in reality, we don't put those policies into practice. And then we also know that in our African workspace, before you even get there as an ordinary person, there is so much financial pressure, family responsibilities on you. And this alone increases that pressure. In the white world there, or those of you who are living outside, you will see that at some age, you have some flexibility to do certain things for yourself. But hey, in our African setting, no. Everybody will contribute to take you to school to get to work. The moment you start working, it is time for you to pay back. So a worker is not only stressed by work, But trust me, sometimes your home expectation add on more stresses for us in our African space.
Okay, that's great. I mean, those are very, very good points to really take from, I must say. Now let's talk about the toxic work environment. I think at the beginning you spoke about the fact that sometimes you have unfriendly bosses, unfriendly colleagues, and I mean a whole lot of things happening in the workspace, causing some form of toxic, I mean, environment. Let's talk about the subtle bullying and harassment. How do these experiences go a long way to affect the mental health of individuals?
Okay, so I keep on saying that bullying sometimes may not be so open as you and I know. And not all bullying is loud. There are subtle bullying that can be inclusion for maybe a meeting. You're expected to go and represent your boss somewhere, but because the boss really wants you to know that you are nobody, you will not go to that meeting. It's harassment. When there is public humiliation, something happens closely in your department, and your boss will decide that I will humiliate you openly. It is a form of, bullying that affects our mental health. And then constant criticism. Yes, in as much as you need to be corrected as an individual working, if it becomes constant, if everything you do is questionable to whoever you are reporting to, trust me, it's a subtle bullying and harassment. And this can seriously affect your mental health wherever you find yourself. When there is also silent treatment, so you are in your office with colleagues and for whatever reason in your absence, something might have happened or your team did not perform well during an appraisal. And because of that, they decide to go silent on you. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to discuss anything with you. They just leave you to your fate. Trust me, it is another form of bullying. Then unfair workload allocation. Because I don't like you and I am the boss, I will make sure that every naughty work that comes, I will ensure that I allocate that portion to you to do so that I'll get you. It is bullying. And then undermine people's competence. Each and every one of us have a talent. And whatever work you find yourself doing, at some point in time, you need to exhibit what you know and you can do best. But there are instances where because somebody really wants to bully you, they undermine your competence. They won't even give you the opportunity to exhibit and then be glorified for that. And some of these things over time reduce your self-esteem because you don't even feel belonged, let alone to feel good about yourself. It also brings down your self-confidence. The fear of what would they say if I don't do it right? So you're always with the constant negative thinking. It also damages your trust for other people because we are humans. If you come to the office and everybody around you, deals with you in a way not so acceptable to you psychologically, it tends to develop into some trust issues. And then finally, emotional safety. So those are psychological wounds that can last for a very long time and then leave somebody on the job with constant stress. You see, they are just simple harassment. They are just simple bullying. They are not so loud. But look at the extent of damage it will cause to individuals.
Okay. Currently we have a lot of people, or let me say, people are open to online jobs where we have the WhatsApp, the emails, and I mean, the remote works, you understand? And now it looks like people are working beyond office time. Do you think we are in a system? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was saying that currently we have the WhatsApp, the emails, and then people are very much prone to remote works. So it looks like now, even though we have time for working, people are going beyond the work time because of the demands of the job. Do you think we are in a system where rest is no longer protected? And how dangerous is this in the long term?
Yes, we are seriously losing the right to rest, like you mentioned, because of constant connectivity. So, for example, yes, you are working remotely, but technology is also blurring our boundaries. How? you need to answer certain emails at night.
Yeah.
Your boss is maybe in another country, and because of that time difference, you need to answer that email within a particular time, whether it's favorable or not. Sometimes, using your WhatsApp on weekends, when you have to really have a family time or the me time, WhatsApp will let you, not rest. And then calls during leave periods. So there are instances where you're on leave, you need to get that absolutely rest. But because of this connectivity, because of you lacking that right to rest, calls will be distracting that leave of yours. And at the end of the day, you will trade your rest and still continue to work. This always, threatens our culture. At the same time, where rest is interrupted, it breaks you down as an individual. Let me put it that way. And for your information, rest is not laziness. It is rather recovery. Because scientifically, the more you rest, the more you give your body the chance to recover from daily, weekly, or even monthly activities. So yes, we are really losing the right to rest because of that constant connectivity.
Okay. Now let's talk about some coping or some breaking points. We see people turning to alcohol. We see people turning their attention to alcohol, to food, or isolation to cope. At what point does coping become self-destructive? And what are some of these warning signs that tells you that this person is reaching their burnout, or let me say, collapsing inwardly, if I should say?
All right, so thank you. Coping becomes harmful, okay, when the method you are using creates more problems than bringing you relief. So for example, we have people who out of stress, they would decide to go for maybe a bottle of alcohol to let them relax. Yes, to you, you are coping, but what is the end usage of alcohol or certain substances? So in as much as you are coping, right, it is becoming harmful because of the after. Include emotional eating. We have people who tend to binge eating. Everything they will want to take it. So biscuit, drink, tobolo, plantain, just everything. They are just using this as a big coping. We have those who withdraw socially. So there may be this colleague in your office who happens to be so friendly, who is babbling, always going up and down. All of a sudden, there is that social withdrawal. And then we have excessive sleeping and then less sleeping for some people. So you will have to even know your sleep pattern.
Yeah.
Are you oversleeping? Are you undersleeping? If yes, it's a wake-up call to know that yes, even though you are coping well, but it will tend to work to avoid the feeling. So yes, I don't want to feel depressed. I don't want to time. I want to still enjoy my life. The only thing I can do is to stay long hours in the office and then work so that I can avoid or overcome those feelings. When you see all these things, you should know that there are danger signs. To you, it is coping, but at some point, it is becoming more harmful. If your coping strategy is damaging your health, your relationship, then it is no longer a coping strategy. So you must watch.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think we're about to wrap up. I think we've been talking about the courses, what can be done. I mean, we've been talking about the courses, how intensive it could get at some certain point, and knowing that at this point you need to rest, and at this point you can get back to work. Now let's bring the whole conversation to a close by talking about some solutions or some practical steps that employers can take to create healthier work environment. So we can briefly touch on this and then we can end the conversation.
Okay, so I feel that leaders or managers can be a bit different in some of the things they do. The first one is active listening. There is so much joy in the fact that, when you're going through stress, somebody is there to listen to you. Leaders should try and create psychologically safe environment. So wherever you work, there should be that one person who will be open to take the plight of employees as and when there is a breakdown. Then leaders should discourage toxic productivity. So every organization that is toxic, the leaders should wake up and discourage that. And they should also try to promote work-life balance. Our life is not solely for work. There should be a balance between your work and then your personal life. Leaders should encourage that. And then they should address issues of bullying quickly. So instances where you notice one or two bullying, we shouldn't sit to it. It should be addressed quickly so that it will deter other people from doing more of that. Leaders should also, recognize staff contribution. Now, banks is doing so well. You go to a bank, you see somebody's picture, star of the month. It is so nice. When you see it, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel relaxed, and you know that, hey, the little that I'm putting into this company is being recognized. And then we should also encourage mental health support. Let's normalize conversations around mental health. It shouldn't be stigmatized. If I had high blood pressure and I can walk to my boss to tell my boss that, hey, I'm going for a review because I have HPT, it is the same way I should be open to tell the boss that I have depression and I have to see my psychiatrist. Employers should try to introduce mental health policies and employees support services. Now, some organizations are doing well. They're encouraging employee-assisted programs where they bring mental health specialists on board to address some of this mental health at the workplace. And then they should ensure fair workload distribution. The fact that you are my best friend doesn't mean you should work less. There should be a fair distribution of the workload. Encourage people to take the leave and rest. People sell the leaves for money, but systems or management should discourage them so that everybody will take the needed number of days in a year to rest. Then, last but not the least, we should train our managers on emotional intelligence. They should be able to do with the kind of social connection at the workplace. So managers should be trained. And finally, there should be a confidential reporting system. If I report somebody to you, if I come to you with an issue, I should feel safe that whatever we discuss is strictly private and confidential. I believe with that, healthy workers will be productive workers. I believe these few submissions answers your question.
Thank you so much, Madam Sarkodie Addo. Thank you so much. We're glad to have you on our show. And those are very good points. And we are hoping that as workers in our various work environments, we are able to, balance ourselves and not to get to that point where our mental health is at stake. Thank you so much, and it's been amazing having you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to serve as well. I'm grateful. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, so this has been the Hello Africa Morning Show, the lifestyle segment, and it's been an interesting conversation. I mean, for nothing at all, you know that you should have a good work-life balance, address the issue of bullying as an organization. There should also be staff contribution and also mental health support. And one important thing that she spoke about, one important statement that she made was that rest is not laziness, it's actually recovery. Thank you so much. And this has been the lifestyle segment. My name is Jemima Deladem-Doche. We'll see you same time next time. Have a lovely day.
This program is proudly sponsored by Venom Mineral Water, Share the Love, and Bigo Drinks.